When we think about political leaders, we're often drawn to the big personalities, the ones who make huge waves. But what if the most important leaders aren't the wave makers at all? What if they're the ones who quietly prevent the storm from ever showing up in the first place? That's what we're diving into today, this idea of the stability leader. So this really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? Which one is actually more valuable? It forces us to think about what a political system truly needs, especially when it's under a lot of stress. Are we looking for inspiration, or are we really looking for reassurance? So on one side, you've got your wave makers. These are the leaders who really thrive on confrontation. Their goal is dominance. But on the other side, you have the storm preventers. They value continuity, and their whole game is about seeking balance. And today, we're really going to focus on this second type, these quiet architects of stability. Okay, so here's our roadmap. We'll start by looking at when calm seas are actually better than big waves. Then we'll get into why stability itself becomes a kind of political currency. We're going to build a profile of a stability leader, put them head-to-head with the strongman type, and explore this hidden skill of reassurance. And finally, we'll ask the big question, is this a whole new model of leadership we should be watching? It might seem a little backwards, but if you look at history, the biggest leaders don't always ride in on some massive ideological wave. Actually, a lot of the time, they emerge from these periods of really intense political anxiety, when the system isn't begging for a hero, but for someone with a steady hand on the wheel. And the political environment itself is absolutely everything here. I mean, if an election ends in a landslide, the system rewards dominance, right? But in the world of narrow margins, where governments have to be stitched together with fragile coalitions, well, that's when the entire game changes. And in those moments, stability isn't just some nice optional extra. It literally becomes the most valuable asset a leader can have. When a system is just riddled with uncertainty, stability is the currency that everyone wants to trade in. And think about who's buying this currency. You've got markets, and they crave predictability. They hate surprises. You've got coalition partners who need reassurance that you're not just going to roll over them. And you've got national institutions that demand continuity, not constant disruption. The stability leader is the one who can deliver for all of them. So what does this kind of leader actually look like? Well, we can use a specific case study to build a sort of blueprint for this type of leader. This isn't really about one person's biography. It's about understanding the key characteristics that define the whole archetype. So here are the key traits. And what's really interesting is what's not on this list. There's nothing here about fiery speeches or mobilizing the masses. It's all about a professional, calm demeanor, having proven experience running things, and having a low ideological profile that makes potential partners feel comfortable, not scared. This quote just absolutely nails the vibe. This leader isn't some crusader on a holy mission to remake the world. No, they're much more like a CEO, focused on expertly managing the incredibly complex machinery of government, especially when the market is volatile. Okay, this is where the stability model really snaps into focus for us, when we put it side by side with that more familiar strongman style of leadership. I mean, just look at this. Their goals and their methods are polar opposites. Strongman politics uses disruption to get to dominance. Stability politics uses management to get to balance. One promises to tear everything down and transform it. The other promises to keep things running just without all the chaos. And if you look at the scorecard, a really fascinating picture starts to emerge. A stability leader might not top the charts on pure charisma, but look where they score incredibly high. Governance competence, acceptability to partners, and this is a big one, low polarization risk. Now, these are not the metrics for winning a huge wave election, but they are the exact metrics you need to build and hold together a government after all the votes are counted. So here's the bottom line. It's not really about which model is better. It's about which model is built for the moment. The strongman model, that's designed for big ideological wave elections. But the stability model, that's built for what we could call management elections, where the real prize isn't just winning, but actually governing effectively in a really fragmented landscape. Which brings us to the hidden superpower of the stability leader, this art of reassurance. It's this invisible force, and it's so easy to miss precisely because it doesn't make a lot of noise. I mean, think about it. You're never going to see a crowd chanting for reassurance, right? It's not a word that fits on a protest sign or in a catchy campaign slogan. The news channels can't really dramatize it either. I mean, there's no conflict, there's no shouting match to put on TV. Reassurance is pretty much the exact opposite of political theater. And you can forget about it going viral. The algorithms that run social media, They're built to reward outrage and excitement, not calm and predictability. And that's the punchline. Even though it's practically invisible to the public, reassurance is the fuel that makes the engine of government actually turn, especially a complex coalition government. And its effects are incredibly real. This is the stuff that holds fragile coalitions together. It's what calms down nervous institutions. It reduces the anxiety of your partners. And ultimately, it's what gives a government the time and space, the political runway, to actually get stuff done. So, where does that leave us? Is this stability model just a temporary fix for messy political moments, or is it pointing to a much bigger shift in what we actually need from our leaders? Now, we have to be clear-eyed about the limits here. Let's be honest, this model can seem kind of boring. Stability leaders rarely inspire that deep emotional loyalty. They don't dominate the news. They're usually chosen for a much more practical reason: pure survivability. But what this model really represents is a pretty profound shift in what we mean by leadership. It's a move away from leadership that's built on personal mobilization and charisma and towards leadership built on managing institutions. It's a fundamental shift from a default setting of confrontation to a new default of negotiation. And all of this brings us to one final, really provocative question. As our politics seems to get more and more fragmented, more dependent on coalitions, is the system quietly preparing the ground for a type of leader that the public isn't really demanding out loud just yet, but one they might soon find they're more than ready to accept? It's definitely something to think about.